Well, we got some good news. On June 5th, the Bank of Canada lowered its overnight lending rate by 0.25% or 25 basis points. Who does that affect and how is that going to impact the market? I'm going to touch on that in this video, go over some stats, find out what's going on in the Vancouver real estate market. My name is Glenn Feldstein. I'm a real estate advisor with Engel & Volkers Vancouver. If you're thinking about buying, selling, investing, relocating, or just have questions about our market, all of my contact information is below. Okay, so the Bank of Canada lowered its overnight lending rate. Who does that affect? So anybody with a variable rate mortgage or a line of credit will pay less interest. Now, the 0.25% equals approximately $15 for every $100,000 that you owe. So it's not a huge difference, but of course it's a step in the right direction, and obviously we want to pay less interest. How is this going to affect the market, or is it going to affect the market? Generally speaking, it's not going to do all that much from a financial perspective. What I think it'll do, it kind of boosts morale. It kind of gives people a little bit more confidence that we're heading in the right direction. So it might give people that little nudge to move forward with their real estate plans, but by no means do I think this is going to create a frenzy. I don't think there's tons of people sitting on the sidelines saying, okay, now's the time, because fixed rates are still lower than the variable rate anyhow. So the fixed rates follow the bond market, and the bond yields, they've come down recently. So banks in time might lower their fixed rates. They usually do. But again, that's not going to happen right away. So again, I think this just might boost some morale. It's a good sentiment, right? So let's get into some stats, what's happening in the Vancouver real estate market. So let's start with East Vancouver. Single family homes, new listings were down 22% compared to April. There's a lot of listings in April. And sales were down 12% for your condos, your townhouses, your duplexes. New listings were down 12%, but sales were up 6%. So a little bit more activity in that market. Moving over to the west side of Vancouver, single family homes, new listings were down 8%, but sales were up 8%. And your condos, townhouses, and duplexes, new listings were down 12%, and the sales were up 8%. A lot of people ask, what type of market is it? Is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? So let's loop Vancouver in all together. So East Van and the west side, all together. So for your single family homes, right now we're running at about a 10% active listing to sales ratio for all of Vancouver, which means anything below 15% is considered a buyer's market. Now when we're looking at attached properties, we're in the 13% range, so just below a balanced market. 15 to 20% would be considered balanced. Anything over 20% would be considered a seller's market. So we've just seen a lot of listings come on the market very recently. March and April, heavy listings. So when looking at the stats for the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver, so all of the lower mainland, listings were up 46% compared to this time last year, and sales were down 20% compared to this time last year. So yes, the listings are going to pile on a little bit. So why aren't people buying right now? It's really hard to say because everybody's got their own reasons, but the people who are out there looking right now, they're doing so because they need a place. And that's usually the best time to make a move, when you're financially ready and your life circumstances dictate that it's time, whether you need more space or less space. So that's what we're seeing most of in the market right now, at least in our experience with our team. Everybody for the most part is an end user. On one of our listings, we're getting quite a few showings from investors, which is kind of nice to see. But of course, they're even more so price sensitive. The numbers have to make sense for an investor when you're buying your primary residence, somewhere you're going to live. Of course, you're not wanting to overpay. You're going to look at what's recently sold and what's on the market, and you're going to try and negotiate the best price possible. But it's just a bit of a different approach. It's a bit of a different feeling. So one thing for sellers with the uptick in inventory, you have to do everything you can to make sure your property is showing the best, and you have to be at a marketing price, an asking price that makes sense. It's going to attract the most eyes, because buyers kind of feel like they do have time on their side right now. So they're not going to rush into anything unless it makes perfect sense. Now, if you've got a stunning, sexy, beautiful property, whether it's a one-bedroom condo or an amazing house, you're going to do well, because That's what most people want. They're willing to pay a premium for something that is absolutely amazing and absolutely dialed, which makes sense because those things usually do come as a premium. Now, if your property is less than that, but still a great property, then just make sure it's showing well. Just make sure that you're at a price that makes sense, so you know that when a buyer is gonna run some comparables on it, find out what's sold in the area, that your asking price falls into what those other places are selling for, and you're likely to get a pretty good offer. Now, please make sure that you're getting specific market advice for the neighborhood that you're in or looking to move into, and for your property type and price point, because the stats in Vancouver from east to west, from detached to attached, they're all performing differently. And even when you look at the stats from the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver, those are showing different numbers, and there are several neighborhoods and cities within the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver. So make sure you're getting specific information. If you want to have that conversation, if you would find it helpful, just reach out. I'm happy to go through what's happening in your local market. And if you've got a little bit more time and you want to check out some of the amazing properties that we have listed that we're currently representing, have a look.